Some people walk into your life disguised as a blessing, but they're actually a test of your strength. I opened his phone and saw the message. Baby, when are you finally gonna leave her? I was 3 months pregnant, and the woman who sent that, she sang in the worship team at our church. I met Marcus Johnson on a Sunday night in March 2017 at Central Baptist Church in Houston, and back then I thought it was God placing someone in my life, you know? I was 37, still living with my mom, working as an admin assistant, making barely enough to get by, and I just felt kind of lost. My dad had died 2 years earlier from cancer, and I carried this horrible guilt about not spending more time with him in those final months because I was working myself to death. My mom took his passing really hard, and I felt responsible for taking care of her, understand? I think I needed someone to take care of me so badly that I just didn't see the signs that were right there, staring me in the face. That Sunday, I went to service alone because my mom had a headache. I sat in the back, like always, kind of embarrassed about being there single at 37. Everyone my age already married with kids. That whole thing. That's when he sat down next to me. God, Marcus Johnson was gorgeous. Perfect smile. Cologne that smelled amazing. Impeccable navy blue suit. A well-worn Bible in his hands. The kind of man you look at and think, wow, this one's serious. He was a civil engineer, 4 years older than me. That guy my mom always said was good husband material. During the service, he shared his Bible with me when the pastor asked us to turn to Proverbs. Our fingers brushed and I felt my face burning up, like some silly teenager. After service, he came up to talk to me on the way out. Fabiana, right? I've seen you here for a few weeks now. Are you from the congregation? We talked for almost an hour right there at the church entrance. He talked about his career, the projects he managed in Houston and the surrounding areas, but he kept bringing it back to me, my dreams, my plans. So I told him about my job, how little I made, how frustrating it was, and he said something that really got to me. You deserve more than that, Fabiana. A smart woman like you, God-fearing, should be in school, getting a degree. God has bigger purposes for your life. Man, nobody had ever encouraged me like that. At 37, I'd already given up on the idea that anything in my life could get better, you know? And coming from a man of God like that, it felt like a real sign, a blessing. We started dating 3 weeks later, with the pastor's blessing and everything. At first, it was too perfect, that whole Christian movie kind of thing. He picked me up from work every single day, brought flowers, paid for everything when we went out, but always to appropriate places for a Christian couple, as he put it. My mom loved him the first time I brought him home. She said, "This one's different, honey. He's serious, hardworking, has a future, and on top of that, a devoted believer. And look, at 37, you can't be too picky anymore, okay? God sent you this blessing." Wow, that hurt. But in her mind, it made sense. His mom, Miss Christina, was also super nice to me at first, called me her dear daughter-in-law in front of everyone at church and said her son had finally found a woman of God, a family woman. I felt chosen, truly blessed. But look, I should have paid attention when he started commenting on my clothes. Always with a smile, always like spiritual advice. That neckline's too low, baby. A Christian woman doesn't need to draw attention like that. You're already beautiful in God's eyes. Or when he'd get irritated if I took too long to respond to his messages. I was worried. Thought something happened to you. We have to look out for each other. That's what the Bible teaches, right? At the time I thought it was sweet. Thought it was caring. Today I know it was control starting to creep in, using God as an excuse. There were also those times when we'd planned to go out with my girlfriends and he'd make up something last minute. "Baby, the pastor called me for an urgent meeting. You mind canceling?" Or, "I'm feeling sick. Think it was something I ate. You're not going to leave me alone, are you?" And I always canceled, always put him first. The girls started complaining, saying I'd disappeared after I started dating, but I thought, they don't understand. That's just how it is at the beginning of a serious relationship. He also had this way of making me feel guilty about anything. Like, if I wanted to visit my mom on a Saturday, he'd say, "That's fine, go ahead. I'll just stay here by myself, no problem." Then I'd feel so guilty I'd end up not going. Or when I'd mention a coworker, he'd make this weird face. "Oh, you've been talking about that guy a lot lately, huh? Be careful about appearances. What will people think?" And I'd stop talking, stop mentioning any man in front of him. 6 months into dating, he suggested I study for civil service exams. We were coming back from Wednesday night service when he stopped the car in front of my house and held my hand. "Fabiana, I've prayed a lot about this. God put it on my heart that you need to stop wasting your potential at that second-rate office. I'm going to help you study, pay for a prep course for you. It's an investment in our future, in the family we're going to build." Man, I got so emotional I started crying right there in the car. Nobody had ever invested in me like that, you know? Nobody had ever believed in me that way. I quit my job 2 months later and started studying. He paid for the course, the materials, everything. But little by little, he made it clear that I owed him all that. "I'm investing in you, in our future that God prepared. You're gonna thank me big time still. A submissive wife is grateful to the husband who leads her." We weren't even married yet, but he already talked like that, as if I was already his property. Some days I'd study hard, get tired, and he'd complain that I wasn't giving him enough attention. "Fabiana, this exam is becoming an obsession. You're forgetting you have a relationship, someone who loves you here." Then I'd feel bad, think I was overdoing it with studying, and slow down. Today I see he didn't really want me to pass. He wanted me to stay dependent on him. We moved in together in November 2018. It was pretty fast, he said it didn't make sense for us to pay 2 rents when we were getting married soon anyway. My mom was a little hesitant at first, but he convinced her saying it was more practical, that we were already a serious couple at church. I remember the first month was all beautiful. He'd make surprises, leave little notes around the house, cook with me. But by the second month, he started complaining about the mess. "Fabiana, you're not working. You're just studying. Doesn't hurt to keep the house clean, right? I come home tired and want to find everything organized." Then it kept escalating. He started criticizing the food I made, said I didn't know how to cook properly, that his mom did it way better. There was this day I made lasagna, spent the whole afternoon in the kitchen putting my heart into it. When he got home, he tasted it and made a face. "Needs salt. And the sauce is watery. My mom makes it way better." Didn't thank me. Didn't acknowledge my effort. Nothing. I went to the bedroom crying, feeling worthless. He came after me and said, "Oh, now you're gonna cry? You're too sensitive, Fabiana. Can't even take constructive criticism without having a meltdown." Then I passed the civil service exam for administrative technician at Houston City Hall a 1.5 years later. Man, I remember the day the results came out like it was yesterday, March 23rd, 2019, a Friday at 2:37 in the afternoon. I was studying at the public library and started crying when I saw my name on the list. Cried so hard. I called him shaking all over. "Marcus, I passed the exam." On the other end of the line, ice-cold silence. Then, in a voice I'd never heard before, a cold, strange voice. "Oh yeah? Cool. We'll talk about it at home." And he hung up on me. When I got home, he was sitting on the couch, arms crossed, that look on his face I'd never seen before. He didn't even let me say anything. He exploded. "Who the hell do you think you are? Think you're better than me now? Gonna make more money than me, is that it? Acting all superior?" I stood there frozen, not understanding what was happening. I said I didn't understand, that I was happy, that we should celebrate. He laughed, but it was that cold, mean laugh. "Celebrate? You passing because I paid for everything, because I supported you, because I sacrificed myself for you, and now you show up here like you're the big winner? You're ungrateful, Fabiana. Ungrateful and proud." It was the first time he grabbed me by the arm hard, really hard. It left purple marks that lasted a week. He pushed me against the wall and screamed in my face, spit flying everywhere. "You think you're something now? You're nothing! Nothing! Without me, you'd be rotting away in that crappy office making minimum wage." I was so shocked I couldn't even cry. He left, slammed the door so hard the frame cracked. He came back at dawn, crying, asking for forgiveness, saying the devil was attacking him, that he was scared of losing me, that he loved me so much it hurt. I believed him. God, I wanted to believe so badly. We got married 2 months later, in May 2019, at the church. Everyone there. My family and his. The whole congregation. I wore a white dress with lace sleeves that I'd dreamed about since I was a little girl. The pastor said we were a blessed couple, that God was sealing our union. I looked at Marcus at the altar and thought, this is it. Everything's gonna be okay now. It wasn't okay. At all. The first 2 months of marriage were okay. He was more or less controlled. But starting in July, the explosive fits came back. Any little thing set him off. Dinner was cold. The clothes weren't ironed right. I talked to a male coworker on the phone. He started controlling my money. I gave him my entire paycheck. He managed everything. Gave me an allowance like I was a kid. This way, it's better organized. We're saving for the future. You don't know how to handle money. If I asked where the money was going, he'd get furious. In August 2019, I got pregnant. It was planned. We both wanted it. At first, he was happy, affectionate even. But by the second month of pregnancy, he started complaining that I was gaining weight too fast, that I was letting myself go, that I needed to exercise more even though the doctor had said I needed rest because my blood pressure was high. He also got jealous of the attention I gave my mom. She came over to help me with housework because I was having a rough pregnancy, lots of nausea, dizziness. He'd complain that his mom would help better, that my mom was just getting in the way. One Saturday in October, I woke up to noises in the living room. It was early, like 6 in the morning. I got up, went to check, and found Marcus at the computer, talking on video chat with a woman. When he saw me, he slammed the laptop shut fast, looking scared. I asked who it was. He said it was a work colleague, a project meeting. At 6 in the morning on a Saturday? I didn't believe it, but he got so aggressive when I insisted that I backed off. That seed of doubt was planted in my mind. A month later, I was 4 months pregnant. I discovered who the woman was. Bruna, 28 years old, sang in the worship team at our church. Beautiful girl, long hair, that delicate voice everyone loved. She'd been having an affair with Marcus for over a year, since before we got married. I found out through a message she sent him that popped up on his phone screen while he was in the shower. Baby, when are you finally gonna leave her? I'm tired of waiting. I felt the ground disappear under me. Opened his phone. The password was our wedding date. How ironic. Read everything. Messages, photos, promises that he was gonna leave me, that he was with me out of pity, that he really loved her. I confronted him right there, still wet from the shower, phone in my hand. He tried to grab it from me. I ran to the bedroom. He followed me, grabbed me by the hair, threw me on the bed. I was 4 months pregnant and he grabbed me like that. Started screaming that I was invading his privacy, that I was crazy, paranoid, that there was nothing, that the messages were taken out of context, that Bruna was obsessed with him and he didn't even want her. I showed him the messages where he said he loved her, where he promised to leave me. He changed his story then, said it was a moment of weakness, that the devil had tempted him, that he was going to end it, that he loved me and the baby. I was destroyed, completely destroyed. But I was 4 months pregnant, financially dependent on him, and so tired. I told him he had to end it, that I wanted to see him ending it. He called Bruna right there in front of me, on speakerphone, and said it was over, that it was a mistake, that he loved his wife. She cried on the phone, called him a coward, said he'd promised her everything. He hung up, blocked her from everything, said it was over, that he'd never betray me again. I wanted to believe it so badly. I needed to believe it. The next month, November, I lost the baby. I was 5 months along. It was a boy. We were going to name him Gabriel. I started bleeding at home. Marcus took me to the hospital, but there was nothing the doctors could do. They said it was placental abruption. Sometimes it just happens. But I know, deep in my soul, I know it was the stress. It was the fight. It was him grabbing me that way. My body couldn't take it. I went into a depression that I thought I'd never come out of. I spent 2 months in bed, didn't want to eat, didn't want to talk, didn't want to live. Marcus acted like the perfect caring husband for the church and family, brought me food in bed, said it was God's will, that we'd have other children. But when we were alone, he blamed me, said I was too stressed, too neurotic, that I'd killed our son with my paranoia, that if I hadn't made that scene about Bruna, Gabriel would be alive. I started believing that. I blamed myself every single day. My friend Jessica, who I hadn't seen in over a year because Marcus always found a way to keep me from her, showed up at my door in January 2020. She'd heard about the baby and came to check on me. When she saw me, skinny, pale, with dark circles under my eyes, she sat next to me on the bed and asked, "Fabi, what's he doing to you?" I started crying and told her everything. Absolutely everything. The control, the violence, the betrayal, the guilt he made me feel. She cried with me, held me tight, and said, "You need to get out of here. This man is killing you little by little." But I didn't leave. I went back to him, and he asked for forgiveness, cried a lot, read the Bible, said it was the devil's temptation, that the enemy was attacking our marriage, that he was going to change. He broke up with Bruna in front of me, over the phone, blocked her from everything. We went back to church together the following Sunday, renewed our vows in front of the pastor and everyone. The entire congregation gave us a standing ovation. I wanted so badly to believe it was real, that he was really going to change. It lasted 2 months. Only 2 months. In January 2020, that whole pandemic started, and I kept working in person because I worked at City Hall. It was essential services. He went remote. That's when I found out Bruna was pregnant with his baby. She sent me a message on Facebook one afternoon. "Fabiana, you need to know the truth. I'm 4 months along with Marcus's baby. He said he was going to step up after you lost yours, but he disappeared, blocked me from everything, doesn't respond anymore. Please, I need help." My world ended again, but this time in a different way. I felt this rage, such huge rage that I didn't even cry. I just felt rage. I responded to her message and we talked. She sent me screenshots of everything, voice messages of him promising he'd step up, that he was going to leave me. He'd lied to her too, like he was a professional liar. She was desperate, alone, 4 months pregnant, and I realized I wasn't his only victim. He destroyed woman after woman. This time I didn't go back home. I called my mom from work and told her everything, everything. She cried hard on the phone, asked me to forgive her for pressuring me, for not seeing what was happening. She picked me up from work, took me back to her place. Marcus tried everything, man. Absolutely everything. Non-stop calls, messages, showed up at City Hall screaming in the lobby, sent the pastor to talk to me. The pastor came to my house and said, "Fabiana, you're in sin, abandoning your husband at the first difficulty, breaking the covenant you made before God." I looked him right in the eye and said slowly, "Pastor, he cheated on me for over a year. He hit me. I lost a child because of his violence, and the mistress is 4 months pregnant. What difficulty are you talking about? Explain it to me." The pastor had no answer, just shook his head and left. I filed for divorce in March 2020, right at the start of the pandemic. It was a horrible, horrible fight. He wanted half my assets, my car that I had bought with my money from my exam, all my stuff. Managed to drag the process out for 8 months with an expensive lawyer, trying to wear me down, make me give up. But I didn't give in. Not 1 inch. My lawyer, Patricia Miller, an incredible woman who took my case through the City Hall's legal assistance program, was relentless in my defense. She'd say, "Fabiana, you don't owe this man anything. Nothing. He owes you. Your dignity, your peace, your child you lost, your years of life. Let him pay now." During those months of litigation, I discovered more things. The money he said he was investing, he was spending it on Bruna, on other women who showed up later, on booze, on online gambling, on expensive restaurants. I only managed to recover a small portion of what was mine. I also found out he wasn't as successful as he pretended to be. The projects he managed? They were all behind schedule, with serious problems. He was about to get fired from his company. The perfect life he sold was all lies, all facade. The divorce came through in November 2020. I was 39, starting over from scratch alone. But man, for the first time I was free, truly free. I started therapy in December. The psychologist from the City Hall program made me understand that none of it was my fault, that it had a name: psychological abuse, financial abuse, physical abuse. That men like that use religion, use love, use God, use anything to control, to destroy. That I'd been a victim, not guilty. It was a long healing process. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. There were days I cried in the bathroom at work. There were nights I woke up in cold sweats dreaming about him. But there were also days I woke up and thought, wow, I'm free. I can do whatever I want today. And those days kept increasing, until they became the majority. Therapy helped me understand the patterns, how he used my vulnerability against me, how he isolated me gradually, how he used religion to control me, how it was all calculated, planned, and how none of it was my fault. Today, in October 2025, I'm 43 years old. I bought my own apartment here in Houston in 2022, a beautiful 2-bedroom in the Heights, all decorated my way, with the colors I like, with the furniture I chose. I was promoted to administrative coordinator at City Hall in 2023. I'm making good money, have a wonderful team. I traveled alone for the first time in my life in 2024, went to Miami, walked on the beach, ate Cuban food, danced without asking anyone's permission, without fear of being judged. Jessica became my best friend again, and today we laugh at things that used to make me cry for days. We take trips together, go to the movies, do those silly things friends do that I couldn't do before. I reconnected with my family too. My mom and I are closer than ever. She still apologizes to me for not seeing what was happening, but I know she was also manipulated by him. I heard Marcus got married again, to another girl from church, really young, like 23. Sometimes I think about her and really hope someone warns her in time before she goes through what I went through. I thought about reaching out to her and telling her everything, but my therapist told me that wasn't my responsibility, that I needed to focus on my own healing. Bruno raised the child alone. He never really stepped up, never paid child support properly. We talk sometimes. We became kind of allies in this whole story. She's also in therapy, also rebuilding herself. If you're reading this right now and related to any part of my story, listen to that knot in your stomach you're feeling. That tiny voice in your head saying something's wrong. You are not crazy. You're not exaggerating. You're not being dramatic. You're not making things up. Your intuition is right, absolutely right. And I need you to promise me something. You deserve more. You always deserved more than this. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how much time you've already lost in that relationship. Doesn't matter what his family says, what the church says, what everyone says. The first day of your freedom, of your real life, can be today. Mine was, and today I know exactly who I am. Fabiana, 43 years old, civil servant, owner of my own apartment, owner of my own life, and never again, never ever again, anyone's prisoner. From which city are you watching? Leave it in the comments.